Greetings, interwebs. It is I, Hewlett, David Hewlett here with another audio awesome for you. This is where I read my email of awesomeness for you so you don't have to. I do want you to go to techbandits.org, sign up for the email so you can see all the pretty pictures and the links and the videos and all the good stuff. You can follow along if you want, or just read it later, or or just ignore it. But this way you've got my dulcet tones telling it to you in the meantime. And this week it is a crypto nuking email of awesomeness for you. I am reading this to you from the top of Casa Hewlett. This is actually our bedroom. I'm up here because we got back from France. It's cold, it's hailing, it's raining and miserable here in Toronto, and I thought I want to be cozy and warm while I do this, so I'm here. Have you seen my $330 million? I ask. Well, there's a Wired.com and New York Times article that's been covering this code-busting story of a Seattle-based company of hackers called Unciphered. This really caught my fancy for some reason. The team's gone to extraordinary lengths to work out how to break into crypto wallets and these secure drives that people keep their cryptocurrencies on. It's a strange business to be in, you'd think, but this tale focuses on one particular USB drive belonging to a Stefan Thomas that has been both Unciphered's nemesis and its inspiration. The USB drive is an IronKey S200, which sounds fancy because it is. It was developed in part by the United States Department of Homeland Security. So, security is kind of in their name. It is certified as an FIPS 142 level 3. No idea what that means, but it sounds very impressive. Meaning it's tamper resistant and its encryption is secure enough for use by military and intelligence agencies for classified information. So secure. Thomas's drive holds no, governmental secrets, but it holds a staggering $330 million worth of Bitcoin. Now, that's Canadian, so I don't know what that is. But as of the day I was writing this, it was $330 million. Bitcoin obviously sort of fluctuates wildly, but that's where it was. He can't remember the password. So, I don't know, this really got me. So, way back in 2011, in the early dawn of crypto, when it was more of a curiosity for tech nerds than anything else, Stefan was given 7,002 Bitcoin by an early Bitcoin fan. And the crypto was in return for him creating an animated video called, What is Crypto? He promptly forgot the password, and now he's only got 2 of the 10 allowable attempts left at entering the correct password before the drive automatically wipes everything on it, entire contents, and deletes his millions. How's that for suspense? Quick crypto reminder for you, primer, whatever. Cryptocurrencies are a digital alternative to traditional currencies. They are, a digital alternative to traditional currencies. Bitcoin is the oldest and largest of the cryptocurrencies. It was created in 2009. Bitcoin reached highs of over $80,000 before plummeting to a still impressive, if you think about it, because it's just digital, $21,000 this time last year. So I just looked it up. It was worth $47,129.93 today. That's Canadian, of course. And it's not bad. It's not a bad rise for a concept created by a mysterious crypto nerd known only as Satoshi Nakamoto in 2008. So it's a bizarre thing. It's so internet. It's so internet nerd. And of course, for that reason, I find it absolutely intriguing. So of the existing 18.5 million Bitcoin that are in existence, it is thought that as many as 20% of them have been lost or stranded in wallets. So these digital drives and stuff, 20%, as much as 20% of them, people can't get to because they've forgotten the password. They're like Stefan. So this is according to the cryptocurrency data firm Chain Analysis. So with such a huge and profitable market, Unciphered can afford to go to these extraordinary lengths to crack these unhackable digital vaults. And that's just what they did. And I got to say, this is the stuff that absolutely fascinates me, possibly more than the potential money even. How do you hack an unhackable USB? Anyway, so, well, let me tell you. Well, Unciphered's team started by buying as many of these discontinued USB drives, these IronKey USB drives that they could find. They then used, I can't believe they did this, but they used a very precise laser cutting tool to remove this thing called the Atmel chip. That's what holds all its sort of encryption secrets. The chip was then soaked in nitric acid to remove the protective outer casing and then polished down, get this, layer by layer, at a, what is it, like less than a micron every time. And then they would take a photo of the chip until they would just keep doing this layer by layer, taking this tiny microscopic layer off at a time, photographing it, and then so they could create an entire 3D model of this chip. They even went as far as like calling up old Iron Key USB employees who'd worked at the company to see if they had any sort of tips or anything for them. But they would then look at these things. They would look at them through either an optical microscope to see what was going on, or a scanning electron microscope. So they're literally looking at the atoms involved in how this thing works. And while they won't say exactly what worked, and what didn't, they did succeed in cracking the code. Well, not exactly cracking the code, but they haven't had a chance to work on Stefan's drive. But what they've done is create a hack for this Iron Key that allows them infinite attempts at the password, instead of just the 2 attempts that Stefan has left. So presumably that allows them to sort of like brute force it. They can just try every single possible code they can think of and just keep running through any possible combination until they crack it. And the reporter on, I believe it was the Wired article, actually gave them a drive that he'd encrypted, and they gave him the password for it. So they'd figured out how to do that. But that's not the whole story. It gets weirder. Because when Unciphered proudly announces their victory, the Bitcoin's owner, this Thomas guy, declined their services. He said, like, no thanks, no, I'm good. And so, like, what's with that? So Stefan claims that he's already promised the gig to other professional security people. So apparently he's such a good guy that he's like, no, I promised my friends that they could do this. They haven't figured out how to crack it yet. They can't get the guy to use their services at this point. It just must be nice not having to worry about 330 million. I mean, no rush. 330 million, get it to me when you can. Anyways, just a really interesting story. And as I say, the idea of like cracking into this hardware stuff, it's all very, very neuromancer, very sort of, cyberpunk. Now, liars. It's basically liars with AI in the middle. And this is this thing I've been obsessing over, which is a BBC piece on the rise of AI-generated YouTube videos. In particular, this one focuses on AI-generated pseudoscience nonsense that masquerades as educational content, which is just bizarre to me that they would do this. But there's an interesting portion of the video where they interview the kids talking about this, specifically this one video where it claims that the pyramids have electrical properties. And so the kids talk about this science, quote unquote, science that they've learned from YouTube, and then the reporters will reveal to them that it's actually not true, and it's just interesting to get their before and after thing. So, but it got me sort of thinking about it, and as a sort of a paranoid, truth-seeking, deep dive nerd, I followed up by watching like a million other resources, including a Bloomberg chat, which I have in our email here, which is just all about misinformation. And what the experts came down to was they're saying that the only way to truly verify the validity of a story with video and audio and stuff would be to have every image or video tagged with a global positioning information like location, time, and possibly even have it tied to biometrics and stuff. So it's going to be very difficult to get people to do that, I would think. I always thought of misinformation or disinformation as more of a nuisance than anything else, but this video like made me realize just how much of a danger this is. I mean, it's dangerous. They have this wonderful story. It's actually not in my email. I should put it in. But they have this story about some fake article about some stock market stuff, and the stock market dropped like by $1 trillion because of this fake news article before anyone had a chance to refute it. Because of course the speed is so quick, which I'll get to in a second. Disinformation undermines the whole concept of what is true, obviously, if it gets bad enough. So how do you have a democracy if you can't agree on basic facts? Another thing that struck me about all of this is just how short the life cycle is of a social media post. So by the time you've actually done a check to find out if it's true or not, it's already been retweeted and shared like a million times, like what happened with the stock market thing. And this tends to divide people into believing whatever conforms to their own existing worldview, rather than what is actually true. It's kind of an alarming. The more I think about it, the more sort of sinister it becomes. There's an older TED Talk by Mohsen Mosla, who's an assistant professor at the University of Exeter Business School, and he's also an affiliate researcher for MIT. And he speaks to this social media speed of misinformation, saying that this misinformation is often shared on social media not with purposeful intent of misleading people. People simply just forget to consider how accurate the content is before they share it. They just don't think about it. The problem could be that the social media is by design distracting. I mean, basically it's designed to distract us from the accuracy issue and just focuses us on like social status and likes and comments and stuff. So they're saying that maybe the platforms itself just aren't designed for real information, which is not far from the truth, probably. There's an interesting experiment that they did. They sent a message out about the importance of sharing accurate information to a group of people who'd recently shared misinformation. So didn't accuse them of anything, just happened to get a message saying, hey, you know, it's really important to look at this information. And what happened was the result was that people who received the message became more careful about future posts. They were actually better about what they posted. However, and this is humans. When they confronted people head on and said, hey, that's not true, that specific information that you've sent is misinformation, when they posted that, they ended up posting even more of it. So basically, they doubled down. When they were called on it, people doubled down on the misinformation. Silly humans. Look, I've reposted things before that I realized that weren't accurate. I remember falling for a copper-infused 3D printed mask at the beginning of the pandemic, and I so wanted to believe it was true because it was something I could do to help. But you know, I reached out about it, and one of my friends, Bad Astronomy, actually was one of them, who pointed out there was nothing else to back up this company's claim. Like, what I love about scientists is, unlike us, who can just jump into things and say whatever we've read, scientists, they don't believe things at face value. They don't believe anything until they've seen the proof. And I think it's a wonderful approach to have. And I think this is one of the reasons why it's so important that people get a good education, and that we educate our kids so that they can have this sort of analytical and critical thinking approach to the stuff that came up. So huge giant geek hug to Bad Astronomy for helping me out on that. As it turned out, of course, it was refuted, a day later, but not before I reposted it and asked friends to help save the world, and so just disappointing. Anyways, with AI tools making it so fast and easy to flood the internet with misleading information, we're going to find it a lot harder to determine fact from fiction. How do you see information affecting you? I mean, how has it affected you? I mean, I could see for myself, like in a rush to publish, you say, oh, I don't know, like an email of awesomeness, that I might share some fascinating factoid and just mess it all up again because it's not true. I found that my best defense is to verify my stories from a few different, hopefully reputable sites. But what do you like? I'm really curious to know what people do. Like, what do real reporters do? What do teachers do? How do you protect yourself like this? And what sites do you use that you sort of trust to give you the real deal? I do a lot of like BBC stuff, and I know there's going to be bias at some of these places, but I just feel like real journalism tends to sort of back their stuff up. So that's where I go to. But I'd be really curious to know what you have to say about that. So please let me know. I was so alarmed. This is the worst segue ever, by the way. I was so alarmed that I decided to nuke my old high school here in Toronto with the largest Russian nuclear warhead available. No, not really. I was just looking for a good segue, and that just seemed to be the way to do it. I've been enjoying the season 1 of We're All Gonna Die, even Jay Baruchel. Great show. Fun science about how we're all going to die, obviously. I believe it was asteroids was the first one, and then the one I just saw was this one about nuclear weapons. And what came up out of this episode was this evilly delightful website called Nuke Map. And what Nuke Map allows us nuclear nerds to do is to select a destination of their choice and then drop anything on it that they want. From the smallest Davy rocket 20-ton bomb to the USSR's maniacal 100-megaton Tsar Bomba, which is, of course, what I did to my old high school. The idea is to demonstrate the power destruction of not just the initial blast, but the loss of life, the radioactive fallout, surrounding damage. And as a kid, when I was a kid, this was our fear. Like, this is really what I remember, like, this horrible animated movie with David Bowie, Where the Wind Blows, about a post-apocalyptic thing. We were just obsessed with this stuff. And, we felt like at any moment someone could press a button and it was all over. I just found this strangely therapeutic that way. That you could take this map, drop these bombs on it, and see exactly what happens. not exactly what happens, but from a data standpoint, you can sort of see the data about it. What I like about it is that I feel like if we were all properly educated about this stuff and informed about the potential harm and risk to our survival as a species, that that maybe we wouldn't use these weapons. It might be a little less likely for us to use them. I don't know. So, anyways, happy nuclear war, everyone. Enjoy your nuke map. Slightly less world-ending fun here. Jane and I spent the week in Paris last week. It was, I mean, I am such a cowardly traveler, but we had such an absolutely lovely time wandering the rainy streets of Paris, lunching and dining in fabulous restaurants and visiting the Louvre and the Eiffel Tower and the Cathedral Notre Dame. We rode on the Bateau Mouche, these wonderful little boats on the Seine, and one of my favorite places on the planet, which is the Rodin Museum, which is just brilliant. The thing is, I'm so lucky here because I've got this fabulous wife who is so smart and so lovely to hang out with that it doesn't really matter what city you're in. It was just so much fun to walk around and talk to her and just plot and scheme and laugh and eat, and yeah, it was fabulous. Anyway, so it was lovely. Rodin Museum, yes, must check that out. It's just incredible. And then there was Sacré-Cœur, which is kind of fun because along with all the history of this beautiful, cathedral thing that they've got there, there's the epic John Wick fight sequence at the end of John Wick 4. There's this awesome fight where John Wick's fighting people up the stairs and keeps knocking down and going back up again. So of course we had to go to the stairs. We did that. It turns out, I didn't know this, it's also home to the most rats I've seen since the Cabinet of Curiosities. I mean, it rivals even my garage for the rodent population. It was insane. I didn't get as much footage as I wanted to because I was sort of holding the camera and looking to make sure I wasn't stepping on any. There were hundreds of these things running around. And there's just tourists just sitting on the steps and stuff. And then you look over, there's like just rodents wandering off with garbage bags and small children and things. It was insane. Anyways, Jane was laughing at me because I spent more time photographing the rats than I did all the beautiful scenery that you see. Because from Sacré-Cœur, you can look out over the whole of Paris. It's a classic shot. Not for me. Nope. I want to get the rodents in HD. Not only that, I got to geek out with all that's my French, with all the fabulous French fans at the Paris Manga and Sci-Fi Expo. This thing, whether I'm there or not, go to this thing. It's freaking awesome. It's been a while since I've gone to one of these events, and it just felt good to be sort of there and geeking out with everyone again. And so huge thank you to everyone, all my fellow nerds, for showing up and making me feel so welcome. I just had a great time. Just loved it. I wandered around. I put a mask on. I wandered around, saw these really cool things. Also had the pleasure of meeting some of the loveliest humans like ever, including Elijah Wood, who most of you probably know from Frodo from the Lord of the Rings. But he's got an incredible career doing all these cool, exciting projects and stuff. But he's just the warmest, funniest, intelligent, welcoming soul. He was so lovely, and I sat down, I talked to him, I just had a best time. I'm just warm, fuzzy feelings all around. I also met this incredibly talented artist, Michiro Arita, of Pokemon card fame. This guy, I'm like in the back of a van. I'm such a keener. I was there early for a pickup, and he was there, so we took the same van to the thing, and he was talking about computer programming. He's like, I said, like, what sort of stuff were you doing? And he said, no, you wouldn't. I said, oh, trust me, I would. So we started talking about the fact that he, this is an artist who does Pokemon cards who used to code in assembler. So I'm of course like, I want to be your best friend ever. So he was so generous and kind. I told him that Baz would be very excited because Baz and I had spent a lot of time with Pokemon when he was growing up. He's so lovely. He gives me this embarrassingly impressive collection of his wonderful artwork. I mean, just extraordinarily beautiful stuff. So thank you, sir, for that. Mitsuhiro, I cannot thank you enough. It's wow, what a star. It's amazing how, the more famous, the more talented these people are, the freaking nicer they are. It's just bizarre. Anyways, Tech Bandits update for you. I'm back at my local Toronto Community Center this week. So this is the kind of Tech Bandits that is both very excited to me, but also terrifying, because these kids are not the kids I'm used to. These are the real Toronto teens and stuff. I can't wait to get back to it. Honestly, I'm really looking forward to it, because I've got these these mobile escape room things. It's a first episode of this mail order escape room thing, and it's just a series of like videos and QR codes and codes you've got to figure out to solve this thing. So I bought a bunch of them for the kids to try out. I did not buy them for you from them. Actually, you bought them for the kids. Thank you very much to all my Patreons and subscribers and everything that have who've made donations and stuff, because you've made that possible. I got to buy a stack of these things for the kids to try out, and I cannot wait. And I feel so lucky that I'm able to do this thanks to all of you. So wish me luck. I'll let you know how it goes. And that wraps it up. So until we geek again, I will say be safe, be kind, be brilliant, cheerio, and huzzah! And get yourself over to techbandits.org and sign up if you haven't, and get all your friends and family to do the same thing, because let's get a big dialogue going here. I want a big newsletter. That'd be cool.